I've grown up. A lot of people know this, but bear with me, Mike. I grew up here. I went to college here. I have worked here. I have followed the Red Sox for my entire adult and, frankly, childhood life, my whole life. I have followed the Red Sox. I've seen them win. I've seen them lose. I've seen them implode. I've seen them eat themselves from within. I've seen it all. This latest thing with the Red Sox, to me, is reminiscent of the Red Sox experience pre-John Henry ownership. This is what they have lapsed into. And in those years, you know what they excelled at more than anything? Fighting from within and ultimately losing in the end, largely because of it. They were always divided. They were always pointing fingers. They could never get on the same page. There was pressure to win, and they couldn't handle it. And they just deteriorated into this big ball of pathetic suck, which is what I feel like they are right now. And look, they're a 500 team. Okay, they're one game over. But I'm telling you that the behavior... Sean McAdam wrote a column today for Mass Live in which he basically said there's plenty of blame to go around. They all have to take their medicine on this. And this, to me, is what I'm talking about. They all left this up. Every single one of them. I go back to the Kenny Rosenthal story that came out in September of last year where Rosenthal said the Red Sox should sign Bregman, trade Casas for pitching, and move Devers to first base. They've tried to do all three of those things. So you tell me, where did that come from? That came from somewhere. It either came from Breslow or it came from Cora. It certainly didn't come from Devers. And so the Red Sox put it out there in September that was their plan. Now, as it turned out, how they arrived there is a little different because Casas got injured. They didn't trade him, et cetera, et cetera. But they could have been up front with Rafael Devers from the very beginning, let him throw his hissy fit during the winter, make it clear exactly what they were going to do. They didn't. Devers should have known it was coming regardless, should have been prepared to sacrifice and do what is best for the team, because at the end of the day, that's really what it is. So I think Cora was chicken bleep and didn't want to address Devers because, frankly, I think he was on Devers' side. I am starting to believe that Alex Cora is this generation's Bobby Valentine. Conniving, manipulative.
Whoa.
I
love it.
I'm starting to believe that.
Whoa.
And that he tells people what they want to hear and what he wants to get his message out there. But then when it comes ultimately to deal with everybody, he's kind of, playing all sides. I think Craig Breslow also doesn't want to get his hands dirty. I don't think he wants to deal with the reality of being a big league executive, which means going to a player, showing some level of authority and saying, listen, we want to do this. This is what's good for the team, and being able to relate to players. I don't think he can do that. And Devers is obviously selfish. I guess what I'm getting at is this. Do you think Rafael Devers said no because he really doesn't want to play first base? Or did he say no just to tell the Red Sox to F off?
B.
Yeah, the second thing.
Okay, and I think they're all caught up in this now. Cora didn't want to talk to Devers because he didn't want to tell him. He wanted Breslow to tell him. Breslow didn't want to tell him because it's the manager's job. Devers doesn't want to do it because they can both go F themselves. So this is what this whole thing has become. And this, again, was the Red Sox experience, what I would call from about 1965 to about 2004. That's what it was. This is where they are. And until they figure it out, they are going to fail to meet expectations, and they're going to eat themselves from within.
Wow. I've always said my whole life, nobody gets in the way of the Red Sox like the Boston Red Sox. I love the Bobby Valentine thing because I'm with Mazz on this. Nobody looks good when it comes to Devers in this situation. The player's a loser and a baby. Craig Breslow is an emotionless robot nerd. But to me, I don't know if there's anyone worse than the manager. You asked multiple times this week, Mike, as the team continues to be a middling 500 mess. What exactly does Alex Cora do here? And I think we now know the answer. Insubordination and subversion. For Cora to do nothing about this and more or less back the slob player who's defiant, who's unquestionably doing the wrong thing here, it's insubordination and destructive to the team. If the organization wants to make a point and Cora's acting like this, fire his ass and tell Devers he's playing first base. The culture has to change. I think we would agree with that. Like, For what the expectations were this year going into the year, they were expected to win. The culture needs to change because nothing's changed. And as it turns out, it doesn't look like they're going to be playoff ready this year anyway, the way that they've been playing. So fire Cora's ass, make a point that this behavior is not acceptable, and the organization means business.
Strong to quite strong, fellas. The thing that I was saying I haven't seen, we've been doing this 30, 40 years, is how overt Rafi Devers has been. It happens all the time behind the scenes, right? Which we try and, call out, and usually fans will say, you're making it up. So it happens all the time that star players, role players of all stripes, but even star players, the guys you wouldn't expect, are pitching a fit behind the scenes about this, that, or the other, things that you would look at and say, there's no way that they're doing it, and it happens all the time. So that the fact that Rafi Devers is pitching a fit about switching positions and all that is not what's unusual. Is how overt and upfront he is about it, Mazz. I can't remember the last time I heard an athlete just come out and state it point blank. I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. I don't know what the GM's got out for me, but he's got something out for me. It's disrespectful. They're not men of... I can't think of the last time someone was so upfront and on the table about it. And that, to me, is what sets this story apart. And it is an old-fashioned Red Sox bleep storm, Mazz, like you said. You want to have another word on that?
No, I just say this is what it feels like to me. And, Mike, this was not unprecedented, this kind of behavior in that era. Mo Vaughn calling the front office and ownership the Joint Chiefs of Staff, right? There was Roger Clemens constantly feuding with ownership and management, speaking bluntly.
No, but I'm sorry, Jim. Have you ever heard an athlete be so overtly selfish? State his selfish intentions as directly as Devers has?
I mean, maybe not. No, maybe not. But Wade Boggs was regarded as wildly selfish by his teammates.
Right, but those guys never said, I'm not moving to DH. These guys are screwing me. Did they?
Not that I remember, not quite like that.
Not on the record.
No, but the closest thing I can get is probably Jim Rice referring to his teammates as associates. And again, now this goes back into the late 70s, early 80s, or what have you. But they were the whole 25 cabs, 25 players, 25 cabs, all that stuff. That is what that era was. And I remember when young guys came into the environment back then and they would do interviews with the media, the veteran guys would be looking over their shoulders like, what's this rookie saying? It was just a very toxic culture. And I feel like now that's what it is. These guys are all worried about themselves, and none of them wants to actually put the group ahead of them. And until someone takes it by the throat and shakes some common sense into them, that's exactly what they're going to be. They've regressed back in time to where they were in the 1980s and 90s. Even before that, they'll have talent, they will win some games, and they'll ultimately fall on their face because they're fractured. And that's where they are now.
Okay, we'll give you all the Rafi Devers comments. We'll give you the latest. That's the commentary. We'll sort of backtrack and give you what's happened to get there. Did you have an opening take, Murray, or was that it?
That was it, just on Cora. I would fire Cora.
Okay. My opening take is on the Celtics in this series, and I just wonder, I don't think they're out of it by a long shot. In fact, if I bet, I would still bet them. But I can't bet my way out of a paper bag, so I've, for the time being, stopped betting. I'll start again probably next Christmas Day, when those wonderful Christmas Day football games. I'll try it again. So I don't bet. But I would bet them. I would take them in the money. To start the series, I felt Celtics in 4 or 5. So if I felt they could win 4 in a row or 4 out of 5 a week ago, why can't I think that now? I still do. I still think the Knicks are trash. And I think the Knicks have every chance to prove they're trash going forward. And I just wonder, again, another thing, we've been at this long enough to know that you sort of look ahead and what's coming down the pike. And I just feel, are we set up for some classic fake NBA drama? There's no league in sport that does fake drama like the NBA. And would it be, just can't you hear it next week? The Celtics, even the series, go ahead, win the series, and they, overcome all the odds and overcome all the naysayers and prove all the doubters wrong. And Joe Mazzulla answers the critics and Jason Tatum answers the critic. It's like, it's just so set up for that classic fake NBA drama story. I feel it's coming because I still feel the Celtics are much better than the Knicks. And so I still like them in the series. I don't know exactly how it's going to go. Are the shots just going to go in? Are they going to keep playing the same stupid way and the shots are just going to go in? Probably, maybe. I don't know. That could be it. Maybe they alter the way they play a little bit. They bear down a little bit, get to the rim, get to the line. Don't just chuck 3-pointers. Play a little more smartly at the end of these games and just close them out. I don't know how it's going to go, but I do feel that other thing, that fake NBA drama thing is coming next week, and it starts on Saturday.